another video, and if you are new here, hello, welcome. My name is Emma. I'm the one that runs this YouTube channel, as you probably had guessed, but I also run the Instagram blog and the written blog Tea and God. And if you're new here again, thank you for clicking on this video, and hopefully you get something from it. We are right about to enter the second video of our Christmas series. I cannot believe that we are already in the month of December. I just don't understand how time has gone by that quickly. But as usual, before we dive right on into the word of the day, I'm going to spotlight our fancy smancy tea of the day here. So I've used this mug before. It's one of my favorites. It is this cute one. On the back, it's got flowers, and it says, "Look on the sunny side of life." This is a mug that my step-grandparents got for me up in Alaska, and I love it so much. It's so cute. She's awesome. So our tea today is the Stash Lemon Ginger Tea. It is my first time trying it today, and it's actually really, really good. It's like, I feel like this is the perfect type of tea to have either on a day where you're starting to feel like a little under the weather, or if you're just not feeling emotionally like great, you know? It just kind of has that lemon water type flavor, but it's also still got those kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of like that healing property flavor of the ginger. It's really good. But yes, normally we do our psalm for the day, as you guys know, but before we dive into the word today, though, I do just want to say a little disclaimer here. I am reading from a different translation than normal. I am reading from my Canvas Bible. It is the Message translation, which is, there's a lot of controversy around the Message translation, but for my own personal, the way I use it is I usually will use it in parallel with another translation. So like this morning I read from both the ESV and the Message, and I just liked how the Message worded things. Even though it's pretty much the same, I just kind of, I don't know, I got a little bit from this one, I feel like, more than I did the other one, which is why we're using this one. But this is, sorry, that was rambling. So this is a Canvas Bible, so it's got not only the room and the margins for notes and things, but it also is really cool and has like built-in Bible journaling entries already, like this one, which I haven't colored obviously, but like it's kind of like a coloring Bible as well, which is nice. But before I ramble on too much more, I am going to be reading from Isaiah today instead of the book of Psalms, just because I read a chapter of Isaiah this morning that I thought was amazing, and I've already done a written post on it, so I wanted to come back around because I love it. But before I ramble too much longer, let's dive right down into Isaiah 55. So I love this whole thing. I don't have the verse numbers. That is the one downside to this Bible in particular. There is no verse number, so I'm just kind of gonna read and hope for the best. But yeah, so sorry for all the rambling this morning. Isaiah 55, starting in verse 1, it says, "Hey there, all who are thirsty, come to the water. Are you penniless? Come anyway. Buy and eat. Come buy your drinks, buy wine and milk. Buy without money. Everything's free. Why do you spend your money on junk food, your hard-earned cash on cotton candy? Listen to me, listen well. Eat only the best. Fill yourself with only the finest." And I'm just going to pause there for a minute because I love the opening to this chapter of Isaiah. I think that's really important to remember, that you can always come to the well of life. You can always come and get your thirst filled. You can always come and be in the presence of God. It doesn't say come if you're thirsty and you're righteous. It says come all who are thirsty. And that's something that I feel like a lot of us as Christians tend to forget. I feel like this is something that a lot of times in church people forget, is that we are all allowed to come to the well of life. We are all allowed to drink from the water. It's not that you are only allowed to if you're worthy of it, because none of us are worthy of it. We are only allowed to do things to pursue the faith, to grow in the faith by grace. And it's in recognizing that we can truly love and live well, I feel like. And I also I really wanted to highlight, I don't know what verse it is, but the ones where it says, like, why are you spending your money on junk food? Like, why aren't you feeding yourself the way you're supposed to? Excuse me. And I think this is really important, especially in a modern society with all the weird goodies we have that are really, like, not good for us at all. And I think this applies also more than just food. I mean, the most precious resource any of us have is time. So why are you spending time doing stuff that you know isn't going to help you or serve you in any way, shape, or form, either like in it all or just like in your faith? Why are you spending so much time on Instagram? Why are you spending so much time scrolling through Facebook, scrolling through whatever social media that you use until an hour goes by, 2 hours go by, multiple hours go by in your day, and instead of doing something productive, instead of doing something to nourish your brain, to nourish your body, you are just wasting your life away in a sense. Or why are you spending money on things that you don't actually need, or that you think you need, but that aren't really necessary? Why are you making so many frivolous purchases? Why are you making so many purchases that don't really matter and really are just a waste of your resources? And I think that that's really important, especially as Christians, because we are supposed to steward what we have well. We are supposed to be a light to the world and kind of show the world what they're missing, in a sense, because realistically the world is missing a lot in the fact that if you don't have God in your life, if you aren't following Christ, if you aren't really actively pursuing and strengthening your faith, you're missing a lot. You're missing so much growth and encouragement and nourishment, and you're missing the best friend you could possibly have, you know? And it's just something to remember that when you call yourself a Christian, the people in your lives are evaluating Christians through you, whether or not you want it to be that way. And when you recognize that and you take hold of that and you truly begin to realize and accept that fact, that's when, you know, you kind of begin to truly reflect Christ more, is in realizing that what I do as when I deem myself as a Christian is going to purely reflect Christ to other people. And that's an extremely powerful thing that, you know, if you're a Christian, yet you still live exactly like how the world does, and you still are a really mean person, and you still, you know, gossip and spread drama and just, you know, do things that aren't nice, that's how people are going to view and create their reality around who God is, because we are direct reflections of Him. That was a tangent. It's okay. Then it says, pay attention, come close now. Listen carefully to my life-giving, life-nourishing words. I'm making a lasting covenant commitment with you, the same that I made with David. Sure, solid, enduring love. And I just want to pause there because, again, it's just recognizing that God has made a commitment to you. He is in a covenant with you, and it's a covenant of sure, solid, and enduring love. That's incredible. I mean, I don't know about you, because I, again, don't probably know you in person, but, like, I'm not a great person some of the time, you know? Like, a lot of us can do some really screwed up things, and in recognizing that, like, God still loves us through all of our screw-ups, through all of our past mistakes and failures and, you know, past bad decisions, and He still loves us through all of it, and that He extends grace and forgiveness towards us, that is something that is so overwhelmingly powerful to me. And then, you know, it's not just some other person. This is the God of creation who loves you enough to put your past aside and, you know, put up a no fishing sign. He throws it into a lake. There's no fishing. He's not going to go pull it up and do how sometimes in other relationships with other people what happens, where they say they forgive you, and then another disagreement, argument, whatever comes up, and they bring up all this past stuff that happened when they said that they've forgiven you. And that's not true forgiveness. And I recognize, you know, that that's easier said than done. It is extremely difficult to forgive some things that people do to us, or that, you know, our misunderstandings or whatever. But it's in recognizing that if God can extend that type of grace and forgiveness towards us, we need to be able to figure out a way to do it with each other. I also, again, I don't know the verse numbers, sorry, but continuing down a little bit, it says, seek God while He's here to be found. Pray to Him when He's close at hand. Let the wicked abandon their way of life, and the evil their way of thinking. Let them come back to God who is merciful. Come back to our God who is lavish with forgiveness. And again, it's so important for us to stop running from God, to stop running from our faith, to stop running from the things that scare us because they're what we know we need to do, and instead start seeking God out, start seeking time with other Christians, start seeking and seeking until, you know, your faith becomes your entire life, because ultimately that's exactly what we were placed on this planet for, is to have a relationship with God, and that is what we came here for. I don't care whether you're meant to be a mechanic, whether you're meant to be a, I don't know, like a microbiologist. I don't care if you're meant to be a school teacher. I don't care if you're meant to be a mom or, you know, run your own company and make a bunch of money. I don't care what you're meant to do. What we were all placed on earth to do is to have a relationship with Christ. That's how we were designed. That was what we were created for. If you look back in Genesis, that's exactly what man was. It was a companion. That's exactly what, you know, God's goal with creating man was to create companionship among each other, but also with him. And it's because of the fall that it can be so difficult to have companionship with other people as well as to have companionship with God, because we have this sense of guilt because of the bad things we've done in the past. And I also think that, again, it's so important to remember the verse when it says that God is merciful, that he is lavish with forgiveness, because again, this is something that if God is full of this, we need to be able to extend this to each other, because frankly, none of us are coming out of this alive. All of us are going to have hurts. All of us are going to have heartaches and struggles and trials and whatever. None of us are going to get a ticket on easy street. Maybe your life is easier than someone else's that you know. Maybe someone else's life is easier than yours. But regardless, we all have bad things happen in our lives, and it's in recognizing that sometimes the dumb thing that somebody did to you, whether they're cutting you off on the road, whether they forgot something that they were supposed to do, we all have our own lives, and it's in recognizing that you're not the main character that you can truly begin to more easily give forgiveness, more easily give grace, more easily recognize that you are not the center of everything, because you're not. Like, I know sometimes you don't want to hear that, but you're not, and it's in recognizing that, and in recognizing that it's truly being there to support those around us, to reflect what God does for us, that is going to improve every relationship in your life, whether it's a friendship, whether it's a work relationship, whether it's a romantic relationship, or a relationship with one of your family members. I mean, realistically, if you are wanting to grow in your faith, you really have to learn to love people. And, people, we aren't great, but, if God can do it, we need to be able to do it too. If God can forgive us for what we've done, we need to be able to forgive each other. Sorry, I'm making this Isaiah one longer than I meant to, but that's okay. I want to just drop down a couple verses more, and it says, actually, I guess I'll read that. So it says, I don't think the way you think. The way you work isn't the way I work. God's decree. For as the sky soars high above the earth, so the way I work surpasses the way you work, and the way I think is beyond the way you think. Just as rain and snow descend from the skies and don't go back until they've watered the earth, doing their work of making things grow and blossom, producing seed for farmers and food for the hungry, so will the words that come out of my mouth not come back empty-handed. They'll do the work I sent them to do. They'll complete the assignment I gave them. So you'll go out into joy. You'll be led into a whole and complete life. The mountains and hills will lead the parade, bursting with song. All of the trees of the forest will join the procession, exuberant with applause. No more thistles, but giant sequoias. No more thorn bushes, but stately pines. Monuments to me, to God, living and lasting evidence of God. And I just want to go back and highlight that the words of God's mouth don't come back empty-handed, and that, they'll do the work he sent them to do and complete the assignments he gave them. And the thing that I think is so important for us to remember is that we all have an assignment. I know that, in modern culture, it's all about figuring out, who you are and what you want out of life and whatever, but realistically, it's not about that. It's about figuring out what God's called you to do. It's about figuring out, what you were assigned to do. Like Ephesians 2:10 says we were God's workmanship created in advance to do good work. We are God's workmanship created to do works which God prepared in advance for us to do. Something like that. Sorry, it's been like 6th grade since I memorized it. But I think it's important for us to remember as Christians that it's not about figuring out who you are. It's about figuring out what God wants you to be. It's figuring out what God placed you here to do, what God placed you here to be like, what God is trying to grow and strengthen you to become. Because ultimately, our lives here are a glimpse of what's going to happen in the grand scheme of things. And it's in recognizing that, and then again, recognizing that you're not the main character, that your life will literally change so much and so drastically and in such an amazing way. And in recognizing that, your purpose is something that God has made that's going to happen is insane and awesome, and just, it's incredible. And I also think that it's important to remember that if God's words can go out of his mouth and won't come back empty, are not, his people, his creation, more powerful than a word? I mean, we were created by one of the words he spoke, but you know what I mean? Or I guess we weren't created by that, but you know what I mean? Like, it's incredible to me, and in recognizing that, I think it's something really important, and something that in order to figure out, you know, what you're supposed to do, what your purpose is, what your, you know, I don't know, like what you are meant to be here for, it's important to recognize that that's something that God has kind of known since he created you, and he created you with certain traits to help you along the way in that. The next part that I think is just beautiful is, so you'll go out in joy, you'll be led into a whole and complete life. And again, it's so important for us as Christians to remember that our life isn't our own. It's not something that we get to choose. It's something that we get to follow God's guidance through. You know what I mean? And now actually going to the Christmas part of our series. Sorry for that long tangent, but it's okay. I'm going to pick up where we left off last week and begin Matthew chapter 2. And again, I don't really know the verse numbers, so sorry. But chapter 2 opens by saying, after Jesus was born in Bethlehem village, Judah territory, this was during Herod's kingship, a band of scholars arrived in Jerusalem from the east. They asked around, where can we find and pay homage to the newborn king of the Jews? We observed a star in the eastern sky that signaled his birth. We are on pilgrimage to worship him. When word of their inquiry reached to Herod, he was terrified. And not Herod alone, but most of Jerusalem as well. Herod lost no time. He gathered all the high priests and religious scholars in the city together and asked, where is the Messiah supposed to be born? They told him, Bethlehem, Judah territory. The prophet Micah wrote it plainly. It's you, Bethlehem, and Judah's land, no longer bringing up the rear. From you will come the leader, who will shepherd rule my people Israel. From you will come the leader, who will shepherd rule my Israel. Herod then arranged a secret meeting with the scholars from the east. Pretending to be as devout as they were, he got them to tell him exactly when the birth announcement star appeared. Then he told them the prophecy about Bethlehem and said, go find this child. Leave no stone unturned. As soon as you find him, send word, and I'll join you at once in your worship. I think it's important for us to remember that, you know, like, sometimes people do have ulterior motives. And as sad as that is to say, and as much as I don't want to say it, we also need to be kind of wary of that. It's important also to, you know, recognize, it's like how it was a secret meeting with the wise men. The things that we do in darkness are ultimately going to come to the light. Whatever the thing is, whether it's a good or bad thing, ultimately, someone's going to find out about it, whether we want them to or not. And, like, I don't know. It's in recognizing that and in realizing that, you know, again, our lives are not our own. We are not living just to, you know, work, make money, and die. We are living to reflect Christ to others, to share love with others, to truly be a reflection of, you know, what we're living to be a reflection of God. And if we can't get over ourselves, if we can't, you know, put others first and recognize that we're fallen people, it's really not going to serve us well in life. It's not going to truly serve and nourish the people around us. And I'm going to go off on a tangent. Yeah, so this is a failure of a second Christmas video, so apologies. But alright, I'm probably going to be cutting this into 2 videos. I want to go off on a tangent from this, and so what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to cut, I don't know how I'm going to do that. I think I will do Isaiah 55 in its own video, and then I'm going to do this tangent in the next one, or I'll upload them on the same day. Haven't decided, but I'll figure that out. So if you guys are just going to watch the Isaiah 55 and up until this point, thank you so much for watching. I am sorry that I'm sorry that it just took a turn that I wasn't expecting it to, but at the same time, like, I'm gonna roll with it. So thank you for watching, and you know, if you enjoy this, feel free to hit the like button. It does help the channel grow. Subscribe if you would like to see the next video, the second part of this. It's kind of going off on a tangent again because I do that a lot and I need to make this video a little shorter. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. All the links for everything is down below. I have a link for the tea that we drink each time. I get nothing from the links, but I just want to share the love, because tea is good. And a link to just the written blog and the Instagram blog if you guys are interested in that. But as always, if you leave knowing nothing else, I hope you know how loved and cherished and precious you are to the God that created you piece by piece. And I will see you guys in the next one and in like 5 seconds. So, see you soon. Bye, guys.